And with that, we're on to our headliner. See how easy that was? So Tim Roberts is a past Spark speaker, and I've talked about this for a month, but his talk in October of 2012 is one of legend. He was our fourth Sparks headliner, and he's back to bring us another talk. Tim's official title or job description is sales trainer. I call him a sales Yoda because he is amazing. But I trust that you're going to find out what may be far from accurate. I suppose if you asked him, he would tell you that his real title is mental intervention. He's in the mental intervention business. Sorry, Tim, that was really badly botched. His job is actually to get people to see their selling career or perhaps even their life differently than they do now. He'd probably tell you that his value proposition is original thinking, and he's got a lot of it. And I suspect that you're going to find out tonight actually what that really means. I suspect what you're going to get out of Tim is something that makes you think, to be challenged and feel like his giving spirit is right here in the room with us because he's an amazing man. But it always brings a message that comes from his passion. So please help me in bringing Tim to the Spark stage with a big round of applause. I said, boys are back in town. Boys are back in town. Boys are back in town. That's right. Can I? Yeah, please do.
Good to go. Good evening. Welcome to another Tim Roberts therapy session, where it's my therapy, not yours. Once upon a time, there was a weary traveler. He was quite thirsty, and he stopped to ask an old shopkeeper if he had anything to drink. The shopkeeper disappeared into a back room and then shortly returned with both a warm smile and a generous cup. "Thank you, shopkeeper," the traveler said. "You are kind to share." The shopkeeper smiled, turned around, and went back to his business. "Wait," the traveler cried out. "You have brought me an empty cup. Where shall I fill it? Is there something in the back room? Is there a tea brewing somewhere nearby?" Softly, the shopkeeper said, "I have nothing for you today, but perhaps as you carry on with your journey, you will find what you need. As you travel, though, be wary of what you put into the cup, for the wrong ingredients will diminish your soul." Perplexed, the traveler asked, "Good man, tell me, where and what shall I look for?" "Where you shall look can be anywhere and everywhere. What you shall look for, though, will be your choice entirely. But again, I suggest you choose wisely. Consider looking for trust, for trust was given to us first and is always the best antidote for a thirsty soul. You may mix it with joy and happiness whenever you wish. I would also suggest you avoid judgment, for it is bitter." With that, the traveler went about his way, and each day thereafter considered carefully what went in his cup. I am a seeker, a traveler myself, and I have loved the hidden messages that have come my way. I have been inspired by friends and teachers and guides along the way. Sometimes they knew they were teachers, and other times not. The single most important message I have learned along the way is your perception is never accurate. Never accurate. That message from one of the great masters has moved me to see, hear, and feel life quite differently. When I imagine all of the Caesar-esque judgment I have cast upon others based on my own limited, narrow perception, I cringe. But the message arrived freely as a gift that I could choose to unwrap or not, a gift to be set aside or shared. Knowing my perception is never accurate has encouraged me to trust intentionally and judge not. Trust and judgment have become the biggest part of what I seek. I seek their meaning, their influence, and the role they play in our very lives. I've hired people to teach me about trust. Trust is sorely missed. We've become conditioned to forsake trust, and its ugly replacement has been judgment. Trust and judgment are as paradoxically tied together as good and evil, heaven and hell, even live and die. And they are within, perhaps more deeply within than you may be aware. You see, we are a mess of a mass of 50 to 70 trillion cells. held together and given shape by an invisible energy and our more visible than we acknowledge thoughts. True enough, if we placed an electron microscope on top of us, the kind of microscope that cost about $15 million, we'd see, or rather not see, we're actually invisible. I've often pondered the question, how did all these cells come together? For these cells to pull together, the notion of trust had to be present. Trust had to be the day one particle. It had to be placed within the DNA of the very first cell. Who put it there? Why? What gave trust definition? We all arrived on the planet trusting souls. In the first hours, days, minutes, months, years of our lives, our trust wiring was strengthened because we had no choice but to trust in order to survive. Our baby steps were weighted upon unconditional trust. The neural pathways of trust became rigid for most people. For others, and far too many, the cords of trust were torn asunder at a very early age. Trust is the glue that holds us all together. We need each other. We need to be needed. So what happened along the way? How did trust become diluted? We were growing and expanding and creating more and more as we were designed to do, and then bam! That bam was judgment. We started judging. We started making others responsible for our happiness. And if they couldn't live up to that burden, that demand, we decided they weren't up to our standards or they weren't like us. That was the beginning of judgment. The original ingredient to trust was probably basic: love. Pure, simple, joyful love. I suspect we've all been burned in a relationship. In fact, if you close your eyes right now, you can probably see, hear, and feel the exact person. As you do, more than likely, there's a brief sting, a hurtful sting. Might even leave a bitter taste in your mouth. And as a result of that sting, you may have told yourself right away and with emotion, I'm never going to let that happen again. And with that, the wiring became trust must be earned. I'm willing to be trusting, but only after time. That but is a huge call to judgment. It screams, you don't know me, I don't know you, we're different. The translation is simple. I don't trust you, period. Trust shouldn't have to be earned. It should be shared. When you share trust, it comes back to you. Imagine if everyone shared a powerful belief in trusting each other. If that happened, trust would rock in every corner of the world. My belief is this: if we want trust to grow, then we got to teach it. You are what you teach. If you teach trust, you become trustworthy. In fact, I imagine a world where the word trustworthy is not understood, because while it sounds honorable, it infers degrees and levels of trust. In a perfect world, there cannot be levels of trust, only trust, pure and simple. It was born of pure love. Each trusting cell was willing to die for the other, support the other, grow, expand, and create for the good of all. But judgment was born of fear, and the only thing I know that fears is ego. Ego is that creator of false perception that has complete sway over us, that pretender of protection that creates a mountain out of a molehill, that projects falsehood onto others under the guise of protecting self. What if you knew that your perception was never accurate? Never. What if you knew that every time you chose to judge, and you choose, that it was based on inaccurate data and actually emanated from your very being and was an outward commentary on how you actually feel about yourself? If you knew that others knew what you were doing, wouldn't it be fair to say that you'd be less inclined to weigh in? Judgment comes with ingredients too, but the contents of these ingredients are buried in warning labels. You can't quite get the right taste of judgment because it's toxic. The ingredients to judgment are shame and humiliation, neediness, lack, scarcity, pride, jealousy, anger, hate. Sometimes a pinch of pride here, a teaspoon for shame there, and for good measure, a gill of jealousy. Sometimes we heap them all together in a big gulp of whammy. Judgment seldom goes down smoothly. So how come is it that we're serving judgment everywhere we go? It seems like we wake up in the morning, get dressed, and then pack a couple of cups of judgment, just in case. Trust, on the other hand, always goes down smoothly, wonderfully. A great cup of trust can be one of the most satisfying things ever. Judgment dances with habits. We don't like being judged, but since we've all been judged, we seem to have given ourselves a free pass to judge others back. No biggie, I judge you, you judge me. We've become desensitized to judgment. It's expected. Judgment is the opposite of trust. They cannot play in the same park. You either judge or you trust. Only an insane mind would think otherwise. Only ego would think otherwise. Ego defends judgment because it serves to protect. What your ego fails to tell you is that when you judge others, you actually judge yourself. One way or another, you judge that you're not the same. That's judgment. Be careful what goes in your cup. Be careful what you choose to serve others. Should you serve them with trust, it is trust that will be served to you in return. If you serve them judgment, you will always know a bitter taste. Each day you awake, consider the habit you choose. Will you brush your teeth with judgment, or will you coat them with the brilliance of trust? You choose. Others taste. Look around. You are all exceptional. Trust each other. Your cup of judgment should always be empty.
Wow.